Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So in this video we will look at more examples on the topic on how to perform the ERO. Okay, let's start with B. So we have here the 3x3 matrix 250, 121 and 321. Okay, the first step is we want to find the first leading one, which is the entry of row 1 and column 1. So firstly, we can use interchange row since we have here 1. Okay, we have the entry 1 in the second row of the first column. So we can use the interchanging rows. So we can use here R1 interchange with R2. Okay, now your new row will be, so your new equivalent matrix now is for row 2 we have 2, 5 and 0, and your row 1 will be 1, 2, 1. And here will be 3, 2, 1. Okay, continue. So next we have here your leading one, your next step. So this is your first step, right? So your second step is this one. Okay, make your entries below the leading one must be 0. So this is your second step. So your second step is this one. Alright, so now for row 2, okay, for row 2 it will be row 2 minus 2. Okay, we want to make it as 0, so we will subtract with itself. Okay, so you have R2 minus 2 times with the leading one for the same column. So we have it is from row 1. Alright, and then for row 3, it will be row 3 minus 3 because the number is 3, okay, minus itself, and then times with row 1, that is number 1 from at the same column. Okay, now we will have for row 2, it is, let's say we use another color. For row 2, we will have 2 times 2 will be 0. So 5 times 4 will be 1. 5 minus 4 will be 1. And then 0 minus 2 will be negative 2. And for row 3, we will have 3 minus 3 is 0. 2 minus 6 will be negative 4. And 1 minus 3 will be negative 2. And we will have here 1, 2, 1. Okay, so we have done the first step and the second step. Okay, we have done this one. Okay, next, the third step is the next leading one in your second row. So, by using the ladder, so we have here leading one, and this will be your next leading one. Okay, since the entry from the second row and second column is 1, so your third step is done. Okay, continue with the step number 4. So the step number 4 here, you should simplify or reduce the number into 0. So next step, we have here, it is from row 3 will be equals to row 3 plus for row 2 because your leading one is in the second row. So now we will have your third row will be 0. So negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Negative 2 plus minus 8 will be negative 10. Okay, the rest will be 1, 2, 1 and 0, 1, negative 2. Now let's check your ladder. So we have here is leading one in the main diagonal. Okay, another leading one that you have to find is the leading one in the third row. Alright, so let's continue. So we have here for the next equivalent matrix, it will be R3 equals to R3 divided by negative 10. And now we will have it. Your third row is 0, 0, and 1. Okay, so the rest will be 0, 1, -2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so next continue. This will be your REF, because we have here the leading one in all rows, and below your leading one are zeros. Okay, so next, to find your reduced row echelon form, okay, let's continue. Next steps, above your leading one must be 0. So what will happen next is we will continue with step number 6, right? Okay, so this one is step number 5 we have done. So step number 6 is for row 1, you will have row 1 minus with row 3. Okay, so make sure number 1 will comes from the leading one for the same column, and then row 2 will be row 2 minus, plus 2, so times with the leading one within the same column, so row 3. So what will be our answer here? We will have 1 minus 0 is 1, 2 minus 0 is 2, so 1 minus 1 would be 0. Okay, and then second row you will have 0, 1, so -2 plus 2 will be 0, and the rest will be 0, 0, 1. Okay, the last step, so we have finished this step number 6, and the last step is this one, right? So this is your ladder. So this is step number 7. So step number 7, we will have R1 equals to R1 minus 2, and times with the leading one in the same column. So the leading one is in your second row. Okay, so now we will have it is 1, 0, 0, so 0, 1, 0, and 0, 0, 1. So this is your RREF. Okay, so this is for example B. Okay, now let's continue with C. So we have 3 by 5 matrix. Okay, so this is not a square matrix. Okay, what will happen if you have not a square matrix? Okay, the row, okay, all rows must consist one leading one, but not all columns will consist one leading one. Okay, so let's see what will happen when we reduce into the form of row echelon form or reduced row echelon form. Okay, firstly, okay, this is your first step, that is you have to make it as the leading one, meaning here the first non-zero entries in the first row must be leading one. Okay, so we have done for the first step. Okay, continue with the next step. Below the leading one must be zeros. Okay, so for this one we have done third row you have 0, so we just have to modify the second row. Okay, now let's see for the second row we have R2 is R2 plus 1, so 1 times with your leading one, R1. Okay, so now we will have here -1 plus 1 will be, so we just use this one. -1 plus 1 is 0, 7 plus -7 is 0, -4, and then 2 plus 6 will be 8, 7 plus 5 will be 12, and then the rest you just rewrite. Okay, 0, 0, 1, -2, and -3. Okay, continue. Next, don't forget your ladder. Okay, so this is your ladder. Okay, so the next leading one must be in the second row. Okay, so if you can see here, okay, for the second row, okay, you have here is 0. Okay, and also the entry below the 0 is also 0. It means there is no possible step that you can use to make this entry as 1 or as the leading one. Okay, so in this case we will proceed with the next column. Okay, alright, so we will proceed with the next column, but it must be in your second row. So this will be your next leading one. Okay, so that means this will be your third step. Okay, let's say if you have here is 1, then you can interchange row and make your second row and second column as leading one. But since you don't have any number there, okay, so we will move to the next column. Okay, alright, now let's continue with the third step. So for the third step here we have R2 equals to R2 divided by -4. So now we will have here is 0, 0, 1. So 8 divided by -4, you will get -2. 12 divided by -4, you will get -3. Okay, and the rest we have here 1, -7, 0, 6, and 5, 0, 0, 1, -2, and -3. Okay, so now you have done your third step. Alright, now let's continue. Let's check your ladder. So we have, this is your ladder, this is your leading one, this is your leading one. Okay, make sure next step is below your leading one must be 0. Okay, so this one will be your step number 4. Okay, now step number 4, we will have here R3 is R3 minus 1 times with your leading one. Okay, so now we will have it is 0, 0, 0, and 0, and 0. Okay, -7, 0, 6, 5, 0, 0, 1, -2, and -3. Okay, now let's check your ladder. So this is your ladder. Okay, done. Alright, if you can see here, your last row here is your 0 rows. Okay, so 0 rows must be at the bottom. Okay, so in this case you only have 2 leading one. Okay, so make sure below your leading one is 0. So this is your REF, and above your leading one also 0. So let's look at here. This is your below leading one is 0. This one 0. Above your leading one is also 0. So we can say that it is a RREF. Okay? Alright, thank you.